Welcome to Reflections, a program where we discuss values and virtues for the transformation of the individual and the society in general. I am Father George Ehusani, and I have in the studio with me today a young man, a lecturer at the University of Jos, right?
Yes.
Mindat Kajang. I like the name. I mean, the name is nice. Mindat Kajang.
Kajang, yes.
Oh, that's nice. Yeah. Welcome to the studio. Mindat Kajang is here along with others at a training on skills and mechanisms for eliminating sexual and gender-based violence in Nigeria. Now, Mindat, you are in the university setting.
Yes, I am.
Even though you guys have not been working, you have been out of job for some time. You are just back to school.
Yes.
Well, but on a serious note, what is the prevalence of sexual, gender-based violence at the tertiary level in Nigeria? Does it happen, and what is the prevalence like?
Well, thank you very much. I'm honored to be here. The prevalence rate of sexual and gender-based violence, generally I feel is above average, because over time, even prior to being a part of
the University
Commission, committee, yes. Still while I was the graduate, I think there have been incidences, and we've had students within departments or faculties or friends relations that have probably reported or have shown in expression, but not in words, how sad or how unfortunate the system has been or experiences have been over time. And currently that I'm also part and parcel of the system, I still sense, I've still heard, I've still perceived from students, so to say, whether in expression, non-verbally and verbally, and the experiences as case might be. So it does happen. Yes, it does happen.
That people get violated, people get abused, people get exploited, sexually and otherwise.
Truth be told, the experiences are different.
Yes.
And you couldn't just work with hearsay, because you really need to have a one-on-one experience or testimony, so to say, from the victims, as case might be. But it depends. Now, the perception about the sexual and gender-based violence varies. It's relevant. It could just be that people just look at it when you just said sexual, I think it's strictly about the intimacy, as case might be, but it goes beyond that. The violence is on a very, very large scale. So it depends on what the student may have experienced, be it male or female, as case might be, and then how that very student has actually tried to deal with it, or has tried to have not been able to overcome, or the trauma or the psychological effect, as case might be. So it just varies. It's relative.
Well, I mean, we hear that by the time in Nigeria, by the time a young woman is 25, she would have possibly experienced, some form of harassment, some form of stalking, some form of, abuse, whether verbal or physical, or sexual, along the way. We hear that. Unfortunately, there is also stigma attached to it. So it's not everybody that suffers this that comes out to
voice out. Yes, yeah. Somewhere. Sadly enough, the system is actually a two-way thing, so to say. We have the perceptions from the traditional aspect of it, and also from the conventional or social part of it, as case may be. So it's a mixture. So it depends on your beliefs, your culture, or where you're coming from, and what you're trying to blend into the system. The relationship between whether the academic staff or the lecturer's case might be to the students. And it depends on where the students are also coming from, their backgrounds. The way the students might perceive something might be different from probably the way it has been related. Now, it depends on everybody's perception, as I've already said.
Yeah, but you see, it depends on everybody's perception, but you see, every institution is supposed to have a standard.
Naturally, yes.
And then there is supposed to be a standard of conduct.
True.
So that the university, for example, should have a code of conduct for staff.
True.
And code of conduct for students. It's a community.
It is.
There's supposed to be, wherever anybody is coming from, here
are the guiding principles.
These are the guiding principles. This is what conduct is not acceptable here.
True.
Do we have that kind of code in the university?
Yes. By and by, every system or any formal system that works, as case might be, actually has a code of conduct. It has its own guiding principles that guides the affairs of all staff, whether academic or not academic, and then students, as case might be. Yes. So it exists, and though it exists also in theory, in practice, it's assumed that you should actually, or believe that you should.
Do we have, for example, those to monitor the implementation of those policies? I mean, that is to say, I don't know whether it is the porters in the houses or I don't know what they have in the secondary school. We have house masters, we have form teachers.
Yes.
But what do you have in the university system to ensure that those policies with regards to conduct of teachers with students and so on, to ensure that they are implemented?
Yes. At the level of the students being at the hostels, as case might be, like you've already mentioned, there are portals there, and then as those who are in charge of student affairs, as case might be too, they are there to also oversee events like this. Then when it comes to the academia, when it comes to the formal setting of the school, when it comes to accepting your lectures and everything, socials are there from the faculty to the departments. Like the departments of your head of the department is there, the lecturers are there. Then at the individual levels of the students, we have what is called we call level coordinators. We have
level coordinators, students like them.
No, academic staff. Like yes, I was, or let me say, I am a level coordinator. My first set of students came in 2016-2017 academic session. So you take them all the way until
through the course of their studies.
Yes, their studies. You take care of everything that concerns them academically.
Do you know all your students?
Yes, I know all my students, over 200 of them.
You know each one of them?
Each and every one of them. Over a span of 4 sessions, 5 or 6 years, yes, I have. Because I have to deal with them one-on-one every semester, every session. We have meetings.
What's your relationship as a level coordinator with the Students Affairs Office?
Student Affairs Office also helps to take care of students when they have challenges when it comes to whether outside the academic environment, within the school environment, or within the academic environment, learning environment. If students have challenges and probably we may not be able to address it immediately in the department, we can call on the attention of
the Students Affairs.
Student Affairs,
so,
yes.
More specifically now, as we are talking about possibility of a student suffering abuse, or of a vulnerable student suffering, talking about vulnerable student, in a university, when you talk of administration, when you talk of lecturers and so on and so forth, the students are the weak elements in the link because they are the more vulnerable.
That's true.
So when there's a relationship between a lecturer or an administrator and a student, immediately we can speak of vulnerability.
Very true.
Because they don't have the power.
That's very true.
Good.
Yes.
What responsibility does your office as level coordinator, what responsibilities do you have when a student, for example, when there's a complaint from a student about, say, sexual harassment?
Well, truth be told, so far so good. It begins with the student being able to
speak out. Yes.
And that is a very strong factor. If the student is not able to speak out,
there's not much
you can really do.
Correct.
And even if you throw a question, you ask student, are you okay? You don't look okay. Your performances have been declining. Yes, and everything. You can only go as far as that. If the student does not come and tell you, okay, sir, I want to confide in you, I want to talk to you in person, then from there you can now get to start the conversation, then listen attentively and try to encourage the student to know, okay, what does the student have in mind that the student wants to actually confide in you about. So from there you can be able to have an idea of what it is that is the root cause or whatever it is. But if the student does not open up,
now talking about students opening up, there are certain circumstances that will encourage that. Do you have, for example, male and female level coordinators?
Yes, we do.
Yeah, for example, you are level coordinator for a particular level.
Yes.
Are there two of you, male and female, or just you alone?
Okay, do you have one level coordinator per level, per session?
That's what I'm saying. So,
yes.
So if for example, the way it works, if for example, a female student is is badly treated or harassed by a male teacher,
Yes.
you, a male, may not be the one she feels comfortable to come and report to.
Possibly. Yes.
Good. So isn't it a good idea to have both male and female coordinators so that they can, or do they have several other options?
Well, your opinion or your idea is very good. It would be a very good idea if we had 2 level coordinators, male and female, side by side. But unfortunately, we don't have that because of the low level of academic
Personnel.
staff. Yes, personnel we have. My department, I think we have more male lecturers than even the females, as the case might be. And also, it depends on the perception of the students too, towards either the male or female academic staff, as the case may be. We all have our differences, our personalities. So some might be more acceptable or more approachable, as case might be, and some may not be.
Yeah, I mean, the issue is just, it's a suggestion.
Very true, yes.
That provision is made for every level to have 2 coordinators, male and female.
Yes.
Now, it may happen that the female considers it better to go to a male teacher
Right.
when she has
possible.
issues, or she feels more comfortable. But you see, in trauma, in the dynamics of trauma, a girl, for example, who has suffered either sexual violation or threat of sexual violation from a male, chances are that she will run away from other males at that
right.
point.
Practically,
Therefore, the authorities should make it possible so that in case such a thing happens, that she is not compelled to go and tell a male.
That's so true.
Another female.
Yes, I buy into your opinion. I think it's a very good suggestion, and considering the realities of what has been happening over time and probably currently happening and may still happen in the nearest future, it would be a good idea to have a balance of
to
both.
make the suggestion to
the system.
people.
Yes, I think that would be a very good one, so that will give the students that opportunity and that freedom to also have to make a choice of who to confide in, and I think it will really go a long way.
What about counseling units? You see, because you are a level coordinator, you are not necessarily a counselor.
No.
So, what about trained counselors? Do we have them and in good number to support the students?
Beautifully, the University just has a center for counseling. Yes, it has been long-standing and is still active, very effective and very efficient. And for the number of staff, I cannot say. But I know of where the unit is, and the students have been told about the unit, and we staff have also been informed about the unit. So if there's anything that has to do with anything counseling-wise, you can always go and then receive your counseling, as the case might be. But for the population or the frequency of students or the traffic, I cannot say.
Know.
Yes,
yeah,
no, I can't. Yes.
In the student affairs office, one would imagine that there should be, apart from the official counseling unit, do you have an idea the kind of human beings, the kind of expertise that they have in the student affairs office?
Well, I want to believe, I wouldn't say practically I have a first-hand information, but I want to believe it's a university setting, and they wouldn't want to compromise on quality, on standard, on qualification, capability of personnel that they will actually recruit for those services. So by and by, I believe that they actually have those who are able and capable to deliver on what is required of them.
Yeah, the reason why I say all this is that, the age of young people that go to the universities is a very, very delicate age.
Yes.
Between 15, 16 and 25. And formative years, age where they can easily be influenced for good or for ill. So they need a lot of guidance.
That's so true.
To what extent do lecturers like you, including very young lecturers, by the way,
right,
to what extent do they see themselves as co-parents or people who are engaged in reparenting? Because some of these young people have been badly parented before. They come to the school not having benefited from good parenting, some of them. So, to what extent do you see yourselves as people who are doing some reparenting or co-parenting work?
Well, beautifully enough, for you to even be in the academia, as case might be, you must have obviously gone through a first degree program, and you'll probably be recruited as a career assistant or an assistant lecturer, as case might be. So it's believed that you have gone through a formal system, an institution where you obtained your degree. So you've already had your own prior experience, as case might be. You already have your own experience from your families and everything. Probably what the likes and dislikes. You know, you've interacted with a lot of your course-mates and then lecturers, so as case might be. So there's a kind of formation along the way. Beautifully enough, we are disciplinarians. Apart from the learning aspect, you have to discipline your students too. And during the period to which you are in the system, there are codes of conduct of which you have to be aware of, and you have to practically abide by them. Students come from various environments, different home upbringing and everything. It's left for you to, in the course of your interaction with students, day by day, you get to sense, get to see in action, as case might be. And now it's left for you to actually know how to go about either you're cautioning or you're trying to counsel, as case might be, either within the class or outside the class, within school environment, particularly in your office, as case might be. You might ask the student, okay, see me. And then you actually get to engage with.
Yeah, thank you. More specifically, the question I'm asking more specifically is, you know, people who graduate from the universities are supposed to be graduating in character and learning.
And learning, side by side, yes.
And I am wondering the extent to which lecturers are aware that beyond expertise in their specific discipline that they teach, that they are supposed to be doing some parenting. That's my question.
Yes.
Whether they are aware, whether lecturers are aware, including the youngest lecturer, graduate assistant.
Yes.
Whether they are aware that beyond expertise in their particular subject discipline, that they are supposed to do some parenting work for these young people. That I am wondering the extent of awareness of university staff, and this time it's not just lecturers but just even administrative staff, just any adult in that setting is supposed to be continuing the work of parenting.
Yes, I could say to a certain degree, yes, we are aware of that, because it's believed that. Okay, let me begin by saying, like you've already said, if you are supposed to, as a graduate, you are supposed to be disciplined, as case might be. The motto for the university is discipline and dedication.
Okay.
Yes, and discipline is a key word. Discipline begins with you as the academic staff or the admin staff, as case might be, and then the learning comes side by side too. I want to believe, because even myself too, I have my own upbringing and everything, and I have siblings too. And being in university, considering their age brackets when they come into the system, I know, okay, they have their own perceptions from where they're coming from and where they are. What am I supposed to do as a level coordinator? That's the first responsibility. Yes, the department has structured it in a way that, or the system has structured it in a way that they must all have level coordinators once they come into the system. And you being a level coordinator, you are bound to guide them, to guide their affairs, and to make sure that they are being directed in a way that is worthy.
Yeah, you are level coordinator, Mindat.
Yes.
But you are level coordinator for about 200 students.
Yes.
And I am saying, for mentoring young people, that is too
on
much.
The high side.
That's Katako market, as it were.
Practically.
That's a huge market.
Practically.
Or Bauchi Road market.
That's true.
I am thinking of, are there structures that these young people could be mentored in smaller groups? Because 200 people, and I can imagine the student affairs office having to deal with thousands.
Very true.
But 200 people is too much for one person, even though you are mentoring them over their lifespan in the school, but it's too much for one person.
It is.
Shouldn't we be thinking of structures, other kind of structures, that a lecturer can be mentoring five maximum 10 people?
Yes, very true. It will be the best thing for the system Because on other climes outside the setting of Nigeria, as case might be, you find a limited number of students to a particular lecturer, as case might be, at every level, whether undergraduate or postgraduate, as case might be. There's a limited number that gives room for interaction and learning, and then you can really get to understand what your students are probably going through. And I feel, yes, in truth, there should be a structure. Like we're even understaffed, as case might be, and I think it's also a limiting factor. Probably if you have more hands, it could go a long way. And with the rate to which students are striving to make sure they go to get an education in the university tertiary levels, and the structures not being enough, so to say, to accommodate, and with the influx of population, sometimes the student does not have much of a choice but to give the admission in that way, which of course it affects, let's say, the learning too, as case might be. On the other hand, so if we probably have more hands and the structure is also expanded in a way that you can have a limited number to also help in the discipline and also the learning process for the students, I think to really go a long way.
Yeah, I mean, we are discussing the whole year in the University of Jos, but what we are discussing is concerning all our universities, all our public universities.
Practically, yes.
So, and I'm hoping that people who administrated in universities and academic staff who are listening to us, hopefully they take these things into consideration as to if we want a saner society in the future. If we want graduates of character and learning
side by side,
then we have to invest in character formation.
Very true.
And so one level coordinator for 200 students is just not it. It's too much work to give one person, and that one person is not doing that full time.
That's true.
He has his teaching to do. So society will be the loser. We all will be the loser if we graduate these students and they have not been properly mentored in good character. So for me, I'm hoping that you understand what I'm talking about.
Yes, I understand where you're coming from. Yes.
And from what you see yourself in the universities of the youth culture, I am sure you know that this thing about mentoring that I'm talking about is an imperative.
It's an imperative, yes, very critical. Truly, yes. We over time, the influx of students has actually been increasing, and like I've already said, limitation the population of the hands to also help. And if that is not really done, we will really have a serious problem subsequently, because right now I'm having over 200 students, and subsequently, of course, it's assumed that the population might still be increasing. And with that, if the population keeps increasing or is being maintained, if the structure is not really there, it cannot not really help the system, as case might be, because as they come and they go, only a handful of them might be privileged to get what it is that is expected, character-wise and otherwise. And if that continues, then the problem actually persists or increases subsequently within the society.
So before we end this program, what is your expectation of government for public schools in Nigeria? What will you say? What's your expectation? What do you expect government to do with regards to public universities? I mean, public universities have been in the news in the last 1 year in this country. Lecturers have been treated shabbily by government, and to the extent that there's hardly any bright young person who wants to be a teacher, even university teacher. So what would you say to government?
Well, to begin with, we are all partners in progress, be it the government and be it the university system or the personnel that are part of the system. And the beauty of the whole thing is cohesion, working together and looking after each and everyone's interest, as the case might be. It's practically part of what the Academic Staff Union of Universities have been fighting for, have been trying to agitate and looking towards the government to give us what is that we have desired, not just for ourselves, but also for the university system, the public education system. Over time, of course, the proliferation of the private universities and other universities, as case might be, you can't go about proliferating universities everywhere without taking care of the ones you actually have at hand. So our cry, our strive is that they should take care of the current system we actually have by meeting up with the demands as case might be. With that, it gives room for motivation. It gives room for development and expansion, and also by the time they also increase the manpower, as case might be, so that there's more room for development for individuals and otherwise.
Are you saying government needs to invest more in education?
They need to invest more in education at every level.
At every level, yeah.
At every level,
because
they need to.
Right now, not up to 7% of the annual budget is going to education, whereas
Fairfully,
the UNICEF minimum requirement is 26%.
Exactly, exactly. And by the time you keep cutting down on the budgetary allocation to education, of course, there will be a multiplier effect, and the multiplier effect obviously is in the society in the long run, because from the development of education from every level, whether it be from nursery, primary to secondary, all the way to tertiary institution and otherwise, if the funding is not given, it's not really coming as expected. If the manpower is not given the room to be in the system and not have real cause or reason to want to leave the system, there will be an incident whereby you lose the best brains, and to that effect, it actually affects the system short or long run.
We've already lost so much. And
Over
only
this
God knows how much, what will be left by the time the present government finishes with universities. We just pray that the next incoming government will see reason to invest heavily in our education.
We really hope so and pray so.
Thank you, Mindat.
Yes.
I like your name, Mindat Kajang,
Kajang, yes.
for coming to the studio, and I pray that the workshop you have come for in Terra will be a success, and that you will carry it back home to improve your work as a level officer,
level coordinator.
Level coordinator.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, brother. Most honored.